Hi, everyone. This is Angie. Unfortunately, when we went to record Tim's testimony, we didn't catch the audio. And so Tim graciously agreed to come back in and share his testimony. I'm so excited about that because it is a fantastic testimony and it's well worth listening to. And so I'm going to turn it over to Denise, who's going to continue to moderate for us.
Thanks, Angie. Cindy, would you introduce Tim for us?
I'll be glad to. So I met Tim a year and a couple months ago, and it's through our support group, the Dementia Care Support Group at our church, the Chapel in Green, Ohio. And we are all there because we are caring for someone with one of the many illnesses under the dementia umbrella. Both our spouses have Alzheimer's. The second or third time we met, our leaders had asked us to prepare or to bring a picture or and a memory to share with the group of when our spouses, before the diagnosis, before that. And Tim started his, and it was it was a PowerPoint, and with music and everything. But it wasn't the PowerPoint that impressed me as much as what Tim said about Sheila, and how he said things about her, and I picked up this endearing love and this gentleness in the way he handled, and this devotion to her. And I just never forgot that. I thought that it just endeared me and it warmed my heart. But fast forward, each time we met, that love came through each time, the way you spoke of your wife. And knowing that, because I'm walking a similar road, not quite the same, but we both kind of understand that. But that love's not always returned. And so it is a one-way love sometimes. Mm-hmm. And to add to it, as I've gotten to know that part of him, I think what stands out the most is that same devotion he has to his wife is the same devotion he has to God. Mm. And that, of course, is the piece that makes his devotion to his wife so endearing. So meet Tim.
Wow. What a wonderful introduction. Who is that guy? I want to meet him.
I know, isn't he? It sounds interesting, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, I was born in Canton, Ohio, lived most of my life, all my life in Stark County. For quite a period of time, we lived in Alliance, but we've always been Stark County people. So I was born in Canton, Ohio in 1953 in May, so that makes me 72 now. And this next June 26th, we'll be celebrating our 50th anniversary together. And so that's pretty exciting. And also at this point, we had one daughter who's grown and married and has two children. So I have two grandchildren that that's the one thing in life that was not overrated, was being a grandpa.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just beyond wonderful. Anyway, so their names are Ridley, and he's 13, and Nora, and she's 8. So I guess if I was going to look at my life and in the realm of love, which is what we talk about here during this time, I'd probably have to split my life up into about 3 sections that I think were turning points, major turning points in my lifetime. And the first would be when I was just a child. The second would be when I discovered my disease that I contracted early on at 25, and then later on down the line when my wife contracted what she has in 2019. So starting out with I was born into a Christian family, and before anybody would think, oh, how, you had it easy, you had a Christian family, we were not. We had our struggles, and we had some major struggles. My mom and dad were very much not loving to each other. I'm not sure what the reasons were, other than the fact that I don't remember ever even a time that they kissed or hugged each other in all the years growing up. And I know that my mom was very angry a lot and would say some things to my dad that would just cut him like a knife. And he would return things back to her and sometimes would even elevate to the point where there was someone getting struck. And I can remember many, many, many nights not being able to sleep because they were arguing in the next room, and I was afraid I was going to hear a punch thrown. And they finally decided that they wanted to get a divorce, and they did that. I was a freshman in high school when they finally finalized the divorce. And I know a lot of people, a lot of children of divorced parents can never fully accept the divorce. They just have this hope against hope that mom and dad will get back together someday and everything will be good again. And I didn't have that. When my mom and dad told me they were getting a divorce, it was one of the happiest days of my young life because I thought the arguing, the anger, the hitting is going to come to an end. That's going to be so good. But even at that point in my lifetime, I was learning a lot of things. And it sounds like my mom and dad were horrible. They were church-going, mom and dad. They had us in church every Sunday morning. They had my brother and I in church on Sunday school, Sunday morning, church service after Sunday school, Sunday night. Monday night was Christian Service Brigade, which we went to. Wednesday night was prayer meeting. Never missed prayer meeting. Saturday night was Youth for Christ. And Sunday morning we were in church again. So we were in church a lot. And my mom and dad, everybody I think in the church thought, oh, wow, the wonderful Bilheimer family. They're just so good. Oh, what great Christian folks, But when the car doors shut at the end of the service on Sunday, the fight was on all week. So but through that time, they gave that gift to us of God's word, Bible-believing churches that had a burden for lost souls. And by the time I was 8 years old, I wanted my mom. I asked her one night, can I ask Jesus into my heart tonight? And she said, sure you can. Come on. I went into her room and I sat at her knee and I gave my heart to the Lord. And when I opened my eyes after the prayer, she looked at me and she said, now God has taken you with one of his hands. And he's taken you with the other hand, and he's put both hands around you. And no one can ever take you out of his hands. And I thought, oh, wow, that's awesome. So I grew up, and I loved, I was kind of a big kid, so I loved sports. I loved football. I loved basketball the most, tennis, softball. And if I wasn't home doing homework, I was playing those sports somewhere with somebody all the time. And so as I grew and got into college, and I was playing in some intramural sports in college, and I started noticing some problems going on, and with different joints. If I would go canoeing, I wouldn't be able to move my wrists the next day, and I would think, wow, what the heck? I must have pulled a joint on both wrists. What's going on here? And after I was married, we had been married about 2 years, and we had our little daughter, wasn't even a year old yet, and it just 100% took over. Rheumatoid arthritis, I had it in every joint. I would have to chew gum for like 45 minutes before dinner so I could chew my food and swallow it because I couldn't unlock my jaw muscles and jaw. And so they suggested I go to the Cleveland Clinic, which I did, and they tried everything they had, and none of it worked. So at the age of 25, I had to say to myself, that's it. No more sports for me. As a matter of fact, I don't even know if I'm going to keep working. I don't know how I'm going to keep working if I can't walk. It was getting harder and harder to walk. And God, I had, in that point of my life, I'd kind of walked away from him a little bit. I had put him on my back burner because I had a lot of other things that were fun stuff to do. And so that was a huge moment to me, and I don't remember ever getting angry at God or anything like that. I just realized while I've walked away from him, I don't know whether this is a discipline that I'm going to have to suffer for that, but whatever it is, I'm going to be with him. And so I'm so thankful that God didn't put me on his back burner when I put him on my back burner, because I know that he was I envisioned him as being right behind my shoulder, just whispering in my ear, well, son, when you're done walking and running away, I'll be right here behind you, right here to pick you up. And that's what he did when I contracted the rheumatoid arthritis, and I was very, very limited in what I could do. I found other things I could do, and I tried to stay positive. It wasn't me being positive. It was God. It was God in me, giving me that. And I learned what kind of a person I didn't want to be from my parents' example. And that's why I've always felt for a long time many times it's a cop-out when somebody acts a certain way and they say, well, my mom and dad were this way. I get it honest. I'm not so sure I go along with that 100%. I know you have this nurture versus nature thing going on all the time where you're trying to figure out what's genetically in me that makes me this way and what did I learn. But there's a payoff when we behave badly. We get some kind of a payoff from it. So we're doing it because that's the payoff we're looking for. We need that for whatever reason. It helps us deal with our anger, I guess. But I decided that I don't want to treat my spouse the way my father treated my mother, and I don't want to be treated the way she treated him. And so that was an early point in my life where I made some decisions that I think stuck with me forever. And at the time I made them, it wasn't me making them again. It was the Lord Jesus. It was talking into my heart, and I was listening. So the disease, in a way, kind of burned out, but what it did while it was very active, it destroyed my every muscle, every joint below my waist, both hips, both knees, both ankles. So over the last 45 years, I'd say I've had 9 joint replacements. 3 of them have been replaced twice. The hips have been replaced twice, and this knee's been replaced twice. Ankles, knees, and hips have all been replaced. And so I'm getting around decently. I was able to work my entire career. I worked as an industrial engineer for 20 years, and then I went into sales, and I've been in sales. I'm still in sales. I'm in sales for 35 years now. And so it's been a great life, but he has been so good to me through this. And the third part of my testimony would be in 2019. My wife came home from the doctor, and she was very angry. And I said, "What's wrong?" And she said, "I went in to find out what was going on with my test results on my blood test, and he said, 'You have dementia.'" I said, "That's how he said you had dementia?" "Well, he asked me 3 questions, and I didn't know the answers. I didn't remember the answers to him, and he said, 'I have dementia.'" Well, I know in our group, people have talked about, how did you feel when you first found out your loved one has dementia? And everyone said, cry, tears, just so sad, such sadness. And I remember when I found out about it, and I had to say this to the group, and I thought, they're going to hate me after I say this, but I was, to a point, relieved. Because I saw things going on in her life that didn't add up, and I couldn't figure out what was going on, what was wrong, what's wrong with her. And when he said that, and that was the diagnosis, I felt, well, we'll figure out what we have to do now. We're going to go on from here. But now I know why some of these things have been occurring in her life, and things that she should remember, that should be so simple to remember, were just gone. And so little by little, over the past 5 years, I've been taking responsibility for more and more of the jobs around the house, the cooking, the cleaning up after cooking, the keeping the house clean, the vacuuming, the laundry, just the little things like that. And everyone, my wife once in a while will look at me. She'll be sitting on the couch, and I'll walk by with a load of laundry in my arm, and she'll say, "I should be helping you with that." And I'll say, "You don't have to do that. You can just sit there and look pretty." And she'll look at me like, "You don't really mean that." But I tell her, I love doing this for you. And I honestly do. I honestly love taking care of her, because she took care of me when I was difficult to take care of. at a young age, I mean, I don't remember ever saying, thank you for doing the laundry, honey, ever in my lifetime. She just did it. And she just did it out of love, which is what women do a lot. They don't complain. They just do it. And it would be nice if once in a while some husband would say, wow, the things you accomplish in a day, you work, and then you come here and you do these things. Wouldn't it be nice to hear that? But, I'm in a place right now where she doesn't think much to say things like that, but she doesn't have to. I know how she feels in her heart. That's good enough for me. I don't have to have her saying thank you to me. But so we're slowly, little by little, having to do more things. She needs help to go to the bathroom with me. She needs help to get dressed. She needs help to get undressed. And I'm there. And as long my plan as I pray to the Lord Jesus every time I close my eyes is that I'll be able to take care of her till the end. And if that's not his will, that's okay. He has a better plan then. But that's my hope and my desire is to take care of her as long as she's here. And if at all possible, I don't want to ever have to send her away somewhere where I know they're not going to take care of her like she should be taken care of. So, and then we learn a lot and talk a lot about that, don't say that because, you might be saying something that you can't do and then you're going to feel even worse when you can't. But I know there's a chance that I won't be able to. But if I can, I want to do that for her. She deserves that from me.
Is your daughter in the area?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you have support with her.
Yes, and she's the most wonderful girl in the whole world. She was never, ever a problem. One time she was a problem when she was 15 and 11 months old and wanted to start dating, and Sheila's rule was you don't date till you're 16. So that 1 month, where she was 15 and 11 months old was a really hard month for us. She was very upset that we wouldn't let her just go ahead and start dating. But at the end of that time when she started dating at 16, she came back to her mom 2 years later and said, Mom, when I have a little girl, I don't think I'm going to let her date till she's 18. I said, I get it. Didn't I ever tell you boys are scum? I've told you that all your life. You know that. But she's just been wonderful. She's always there. She's a teacher too. So she's been teaching for 20 years now. And she's great.
So you have a favorite verse?
Yes.
Okay, on love.
Yes.
And you want to tell the story about that?
Well, it's about this whole thing that we've been talking about tonight. And it's Ephesians 5:25. Husbands, love your wives, just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for it. Now, everybody, especially men, like the verse that came right before that, that women are be submissive to their husbands. But my attitude about it is, if you loved your wife like Christ loved the church and gave himself up for it, there's not a woman in the world that would mind submitting to a man like that.
Right.
We fail as men so much further and worse than women fail that it's almost hard to imagine. But that's my verse.
And you changed it. It was a different one.
Right.
Okay. So you're sitting in a room with 3 women on the podcast and only one other guy in the background.
Yep.
Okay.
And it's my husband, and I hope he's taking notes.
Okay. Yeah. And I'm going to go home and share this with my husband.
I'll have to wait for mine to wake up. I agree with you in that, what you just said. But I like the verse even before that, where we're to submit to one another.
Yes.
And I really believe that is a really good picture. If I love my husband, fiercely, he's going to love me back. It's just, it's reciprocal. And but so I don't know if you